Welcome to Cardinal Points, talk radio with heart and soul, your compass to achieving your dreams. This show will shake the foundation of conventional thinking. Ed Cardinal, your host, as well as his many guests, will share their personal life stories and expertise. These crucial conversations will give you the practical tools needed to guide you on your journey to wholeness. Every person on earth has the right to vibrant and dynamic health, deep, meaningful relationships, and abundant wealth. And now we welcome the host of Cardinal Points, Ed Cardinal.
Welcome to Cardinal Points, talk radio with heart and soul. This is your host, Ed Cardinal, and I am so glad you could join us here today, which I know you are going to enjoy today's guest, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing show. I had the opportunity to meet today's guest who is in studio with me today at an event. We belong to the same personal development global organization of like-minded people. John and I had an opportunity to meet a couple years ago, and this organization meets quarterly. There could be 2,500 to 3,000 people at these events, but we always seem to find each other. And we'd have these great conversations. And I thought he would be a great guest. His name is John Calabrese, and he's originally from Chicago, Illinois, and is currently living on the North Shore of Boston. He is a master-level teacher in martial arts with 34 years of teaching experience. John is also a motivational speaker, author, and entrepreneur. Learning and teaching are his passion. It is his belief that learning accumulates knowledge, but to teach and apply it converts into wisdom. In 2002, he, along with several master-level teachers, founded Body Mind Systems, a martial arts organization and training system. A system focused on the complete mental and physical development of the student, as well as the ability to apply the training and the principles to their daily lives. Welcome to Cardinal Points, John.
Well, thank you.
Did I pronounce your last name right?
It's Calabrese.
Calabrese. Okay. You're gonna fit right in here in Providence.
Right.
Why did you first get involved in martial arts?
Well, when I started, I was a teenager, so it wasn't for anything overly deep.
Mm-hmm.
I just really wanted to get in shape and learn how to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And as I went through it, you see that there's a lot more to it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more to developing yourself, and it just wasn't something that I expected, going in, and it was something that's allowed me to continue to grow since then till now, mm-hmm. Nonstop. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that kind of taps out after a while.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you know it was going to be more than the physical practice? Was it after the first day or after the first week? How long into it did you know?
I think I started really kind of getting it after a few months.
Okay.
At first you're just trying to survive the classes and trying to go from there.
Mm-hmm. And how did you know? Was it something that you felt in your body? How did you know that this was going to be something that was much more than a physical practice?
Because it was something that I always was eager to do. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like I had to drag myself to class. Mm-hmm. I was there early. Mm-hmm. It was something that was just automatically just a passion.
Mm-hmm. What style of martial arts?
What it is it's a combination. Mm-hmm. So it has both the internal aspects mm-hmm. with your Tai Chi, Bagua, Jung, mm-hmm. and then also, kind of the external, with your hard styles, kind of like your Kempo mm-hmm. type of movement. And then it also has the middle ground, which is kind of your Kung Fu, which starts working a lot of the connective muscles, range mm-hmm. of motion, more of a circular motion than kind of the straight linear hard style.
Okay. Maybe you can explain a little bit about each. Bagua. Is that Chinese?
Yes. It's kind of a hard one to find. Mm-hmm. It's probably your highest end, mm-hmm. On that end of things, mm-hmm. because it really although it's very internal, you feel it a lot externally. There's a lot of twisting and torquing of the body, a lot of joint development where you're really rotating the joints mm-hmm. through a very large range of motion, giving you a long-lasting health, mm-hmm. because that's, what starts to go bad on you as you get older.
Yes. As you know, I'm a physical therapist, and one of the things that I teach my patients and my clients is you always want to bring your joints through the full range of motion safely to keep the integrity of the joint, but bring it through its full range of motion. And in our culture, that doesn't happen. We sit so much, and things get shortened, and the joints get unhealthy. But something like Bagua it would be great.
Right, and it's something that, some styles, like I would say your harder styles with a lot of snapping and punching and kicking, at a certain age, you really want to kind of back off on that. And then that's when you really focus in on the Bagua and the Tai Chi and start really cultivating that internal health more.
When you mention internal health, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, one is to try to keep the body's energy pathways open and clear and getting good chi flow through your body, bringing about more of a, vibrancy to your entire body, but also trying to stimulate the organ systems. No one ever died of a weak quad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, a weak organ, that's
Correct.
a different story. So if you can keep promoting circulation, just good blood flow, just keeping that area active, getting that chi flow going in there, trying to, kind of stimulating it that way, but, kind of having it active. And you know what I'm saying? Not just kind of forgetting about that and just doing arm curls or something.
Yes, exactly. Yes. What is Tai Chi?
Well, Tai Chi is really, it's kind of like you're just working with your chi. You're moving around and there's set movements and different sequences that you practice, but what you're really trying to do is just kind of bring up your chi, and then you're just moving it around with the movement. So it's, almost kind of like you're literally working with your chi when you're doing those motions, and you can literally feel it.
Yeah, so there's movement and connection to the breath. Correct?
Yeah.
In Tai Chi, and probably in all martial arts.
Well, the breathing really is to relax the body. So, I mean, you don't have to necessarily with Tai Chi time your breath with every movement. I mean, there are some that you do, but generally speaking, you want to just use your breathing to keep you relaxed, to keep you, not getting all rigid and choppy with your movement, just being able to have more of a flow.
Right. So as long as we're breathing, you're
right.
okay.
Right. Life-sustaining breath.
Exactly. Did you have a mentor growing up or someone who influenced you positively?
Yes, my instructor. And, he really worked me hard, but he definitely took a personal interest in me and really, kept on top of me and made sure that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I was growing, that I was, moving along and staying out of trouble because, I was a teenager, so it's always a concern.
Right. You had told me a story previous to today about a friend of yours at 16 years old who was going to join with you. And what happened to that friend when you joined?
Well, I called him up because I was getting ready to head over, and he said that he just wasn't feeling good that morning. He didn't want to go in. He said, let's just do that tomorrow. And I know tomorrow doesn't come, so I said, well, I'm going in today, so if you want to go in tomorrow, that's fine. I'll go in with you tomorrow too, but I'll be going there to sign up. And I did, and then he never did.
No.
So it's just one of those things where just that decision that was made that morning really changed the direction of my entire life and prevented him from having those same opportunities because he just didn't take action.
Right. And I want to talk about that later, taking action, because that's an important step that a lot of people miss. And we're going to expand on that a little bit more later. But let's talk more about martial arts. What are some of the benefits of martial arts?
Well, there's so many different directions you could go with that question. I think really aside from the obvious health benefits, and there's quite a bit to that, but I think just really bringing yourself to your full potential. So you have the courage to take steps in your life, to move your life forward, and even you have the ability to take action. Right. Because you're used to physically taking action with each movement, each form, you're just used to that activity. So now when there's something that you need to do, you're more inclined to be the person that's going to do it because you're used to taking action, where most people are used to sitting on the couch.
So you can actually practice a life in your practice of the martial arts.
Yeah, because it enhances it, and it really, it's just bringing the best of you out.
Right. How has it helped you?
I've just led an amazing life. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at it. I've owned schools in several different states. I've had opportunities to meet really amazing people. I've traveled all over the world. If I went back to when I was 16 and said, these are the things that you're going to experience and this is what your life is going to be like, I would have thought that was awesome. Because my whole life I've just been able to do so many incredible things, so many opportunities, meeting different people and participating in different activities that, you just wouldn't have thought of.
Right. You've been teaching for a long time.
Yes.
Why do you like to teach?
It's my passion because just helping others and bringing them through things that I went through personally or I've taken others through and seeing them accomplish that, seeing them rise to their potential, seeing them conquer their issues. And it's just a wonderful life. All day long, I just help people. What could be better than that?
And isn't that the ultimate goal of our lives on this planet, is to help people?
Yes. And some people will say, well, I help people because I changed their tire. But that only changes their life for a short period of time, for a couple of minutes, helping them there. When you actually help someone to bring out their full potential, you've changed their entire life. And so if you have an opportunity to continuously change people's lives in that way, there isn't anything that could feel better than that.
Absolutely. I agree with you. What makes a good teacher?
I think somebody that, A, cares and is personally invested in the outcome, but also, too, somebody that knows how to teach, how to break things down in bite-sized pieces so that somebody can actually get some momentum with it and get going and really be able to absorb it and not overwhelm them.
I also feel it's someone who leads by example. And you mentioned it. You've had some challenges in your life that you've been able to help other students get through, maybe not have to make the same mistakes that you have.
Almost definitely.
What about a student? What makes a good student?
Somebody that's teachable. It really comes down to that.
And I feel that also makes a good teacher, that you always need to be, for me as a teacher of Thai massage or the workshops that I teach, anatomy, that I'm always continually going to workshops to further my education around those topics. And so I always need to be teachable myself. I don't know it all. And do you feel that's an important part of what you do as a teacher?
Well, you need to be always in a state of learning because it's, we just have a term for it. It's kind of like breathe in, breathe out. You need to take in the information, you need to digest it, but then you need to breathe it out, pass it to someone else. And when you teach it, that's when you really digest it. And so it's just really, I think, an important aspect of the equation.
Right. Absolutely. We talk about how martial arts sort of replicates our life. It also helps with our personal development. There's a lot of different characteristics that we can learn through the martial arts. Can you talk about some of those, such as focus, the physical challenge, communication? Can you talk about those a little bit more?
Yes. Well, I think focus is really important because there's really two kinds of focus. There's that immediate, intense focus on something specific, and then there's the focus on the future as far as where you're going. In other words, where are you trying to get to, not just get to tunnel vision in the spot that you're at. So balancing between those, keeping your eye on where you're going, but also having enough focus to get the stuff done that's in front of you and getting it done well. I think that discipline is really important because people don't always have the best self-discipline. It might be how their eating choices. It might be, it could be a number of different things, but it's just something that when you have that self-discipline, you can make yourself do the things that you need to do. Not everyone can do that, and that's why not everyone succeeds, because they're too willing to not do something. They know they should, so they feel guilty, so they already feel bad, which is already setting things up for a kind of a bad direction.
Yes, sometimes I see, particularly where we live here in America, that people want the easy way out. Anything that's going to challenge them in any way, or it's uncomfortable, they'd rather avoid. Something like martial arts, you can't. You have to challenge yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and for me, the physical challenge part of it is a way that I've always learned about myself, even when I was a child. So I'm a practitioner of yoga. I work out a lot. How has that physical challenge been important to learn about yourself throughout the years?
Well, I think it develops the willpower. You know, as you're going through those challenging lessons and really challenging yourself to your limits, you know, you're expanding, but you're expanding your willpower, which I think is really crucial to taking action. And if you don't have that will, you're not going to go above and beyond, because most people, if they don't have any will, they're not even going to go. Right. Let alone go, go further. But I think a lot of it circles back to awareness, because, first you start out, with the physical movements, and you're trying to get aware of your body, knowing which is your right, which is your left, because everyone seems to forget when they get in, start doing those movements and things, and because it's just kind of overwhelming, just the amount of things that they feel they have to pay attention to. Right. And, they won't breathe, or they'll just lock up, or it's amazing how little the awareness is there. And just being able to just gain control over yourself, and that awareness of yourself then allows you to expand outward and now be more aware of what's around you, and then also other people. You understand if they're not feeling up, if they're a little down or something, you'll pick up on that. If they're having some type of issue, you'll know, because now, and then you can try to help. But if you're oblivious to what's going on around you, you're not going to really be there to support others, because you don't even know they're there.
Right. So that brings up a great point, John, that first we need to be aware of our own bodies and clear some of those blockages of energy. You talked about the meridians and how the energy flows, and that we need to be really open in our joints, and that's going to allow the energy to flow, so there's no dis-ease or illness or injury in those places. But the more we do that, the more we're going to be in tune with other people's energy and emotions, and that intuition is going to allow us to then help them in some way.
Right.
We're going to need to take a first commercial break in about a minute or so, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how life, and you said this, life is the greatest teacher of all. And I want to talk more about that, and then I want to also get into the concept of the mastermind, which is a very interesting concept. So we'll do that when we come back, John.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great.
Welcome back to Cardinal Points. This is your host, Ed Cardinal, and I have John Calabrese in studio. I'm getting better at the pronunciation. By the end of the show, I'll get it down, John.
There we go.
We were talking about the martial arts. You've been involved for 34 years. And we were talking about some of the aspects of martial arts that help people to learn about themselves. You had said at one point, life is the greatest teacher of all. What do you mean by that?
Well, it gives you situations that show you yourself. They also show you where your opportunities lie. They also show you the things that you may have wanted to do differently and can in the future.
Anything in particular you can think about throughout your life that was a major learning opportunity for you, or a major challenge that you can share with us?
Well, I know every day there's, you run into something, but it just allows you to kind of just really be able to, just really look at your choices. And, because it's just how you want to view things. Because your life is going to constantly throw things at you. And you can either choose to be the victim to it, or you can use that to empower you. And I think that has kind of followed me through. I had a challenging childhood, challenges growing up, things like that. I mean, I didn't have a father around. And, and so someone could think that that's bad. You didn't have a father. But I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have those challenges when I was in that situation. So, I mean, I think that kind of really illustrates the point. It's you're going to have stuff that happens to you. It's what you do with it that matters, not
exactly. And you always have two choices. You can take the choice that you did and succeed. You use that challenge to grow and to learn, or you could go the other direction and not take responsibility, blame people for it, be the victim, and you're not going to be successful if you take that road.
Definitely. And it's a choice.
Absolutely. I'm sure that your first teacher, you talked about that your mentor, sort of fulfilled some of those needs that you didn't get from your father. And I'm sure you're able to do that with other young men and women.
Yeah, it's just about being the right example. And you might not even know who or how you're affecting people. You just know that if you're doing the right things, it's going to have the right effect, and the people that need it will find it.
Right, absolutely. Can you talk more about your body-mind training system? What is that?
Well, we founded Body Mind Systems in 2002, January of 2002. I mean, we all had 20-plus years of experience at the time going into it, and we formed our own martial arts organization and system based on a lot of what we had learned up until that point, but it allowed us to kind of really solidify it and just for us to grow, take that next step and expand and really be in command of that, what's going on, and going through that growth. That was pretty significant. But we came together and we formed Body Mind Systems. It's got a very comprehensive curriculum addressing every area of the body. But I think the big thing is just really, someone doesn't come into the school just to be taught martial arts. In our system, you come in to be trained. So we're going to take you through things. I think the difference between being taught and being trained is when you're being taught what you want. And when you're being trained, you're being taken through the things that you want to go through and know you should, but you don't have the strength to do it on your own. And you need somebody there to take you through and hold you accountable to it and really help you to draw out all of the best stuff that you have to offer. And it does require a little bit of help on that. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what are the different concepts that you teach or aspects of it that you teach besides the martial arts?
Within the school?
Within the body-mind system.
Well, I think a lot of it, we're a teaching system, so we're constantly teaching how to teach, how to explain things, how to address different types of people, how to communicate best, and really how to get the right outcomes. And I think that's really a critical aspect and a major thing that we do, but just how we run the schools. Just the protocols are bringing out all this awareness because you're paying attention. You have to do certain things at certain times for a certain reason. It's not just do this because that's what we do. There's depth to everything that we ask a student to do. They may not be able to see the depth of it right away, but they'll know what to do, and then over time we help them to form habits. Their habit is when they come into the school, they stop at the office and say hello and check in.
Gotcha.
So they're used to, some people don't do that when they go somewhere. They don't go and say hello, and they don't, you know what I'm saying? They just don't have any social skills. And no, seriously, they're just,
I agree.
It baffles my mind sometimes, but people actually do these things. And so you're helping them to form good habits. When they step in the training room, they have to stop, bow to the flags, bow to the students. They stop what they're doing. It's all about awareness, because when you transition from one environment to another, you need to be paying attention. If you're transitioning from being in the mall to being in a dark parking lot, you need to be aware, and that needs to be in you. And so what it really is trying to not just teach, but allow them to have that be part of them. It's not something that they just do once in a while. It's in their DNA.
That's very interesting, because I'm a yoga practitioner, and I'm in the process of a yoga teacher training with my wife, and that's something that I've learned with yoga. It's not just what you practice. It's not what I've just practiced on my mat, or the student practices on their mat, but it's how they lead their life. Yoga is a lifestyle, just like the martial arts. You just don't practice what you learn on the mat, but you take that out into your life and be respectful to people, to yourselves, what you put into your body, communication skills, things like that. I mean, it sounds like it's similar to the martial arts in that way.
Yeah, and I think when people are genuine, because I think there's people that are just people, and there's people that are human.
Mm-hmm.
And humans care about others.
Mm-hmm.
People just care about themselves.
Right.
And when you are in that state where you're really out there trying to help people, you know, it's a different way of thinking, a different way of living, a different way of just being.
Right.
And it feels really good,
mm-hmm.
you know, to be able to help people, see them grow. And at the same time, you're benefiting greatly, but only by your giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like you have to give to get.
Right. That's a great principle.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the quote by Zig Ziglar. I believe it's if you help enough people, other people get what they desire or they dream about, you'll get what you desire or dream about. And it is that there's that energy exchange, that energy of helping others, and then it comes back to you, flows back to you. You know, this beautiful exchange of energy. Go ahead.
Well, you know, last week, a couple of weekends ago, we were out on the North Shore, out on the beach, doing a 2-day seminar, and you know, I was talking with the students at lunch, and we're just sitting there talking, and I asked them, I said, how do you feel when you open a door for an elderly person going into the bank, and you hold the door for them, and they go in, and you've been able to kind of ease their burden a little there. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel? And they're like, oh, I feel awesome. That just feels so good. And I said, well, you only changed their life for about 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Now, what would happen if you were changing people, you know, in kind of from a teaching standpoint, mm-hmm. and you actually changed their life, not just 2 minutes of it or 30 seconds of it? Now, how would that feel?
Exactly. And how would that change you?
Yeah.
Isn't that
so
amazing?
It was a real powerful example. It just kind of popped in my head, so I had to shoot it out there. And it really hit home, I think, with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. It brings up something I once heard. There was some researchers that were measuring the vitals of people who were witnessing or conducting acts of kindness. So they were looking at the vitals, blood pressure, heart rate of the people who were giving the act of kindness. They were also looking at the vitals of the people receiving the act of kindness, and of course their vitals improved. Heart rate lowered, blood pressure got better. What they didn't count on is that people who witnessed the act of kindness had the same response in their bodies. So it's not just about giving and receiving, but it's also, if you're in the vicinity of these acts of kindness, you're going to reap the benefits also. Why it's so important, and this we'll talk about next, to surround yourself with like-minded people. And the concept of the mastermind. Can you talk more about the concept of the mastermind?
Well, I have a pretty interesting story that goes with that, and that's when I started training, and I got real serious about my martial art training, and there were 8 other individuals at the school that were in the same position I was in. They were young. You know, we were all between the ages at this point of like 17, 18 to 20, 21, somewhere in there. And we were all really serious, and we were all on a special training program to just really bring us to a teaching level faster. And so we're going through this training together, and we really bonded. I mean, we became just inseparable, the 9 of us. I mean, if we went out, we were all together. You know, we'd be double, triple dating. We'd be, you know what I mean? It was just everything we did. We were always training together after class. I mean, we socialized together. We trained together. We just did everything together. And out of those 9, because we trained pretty intensely. I mean, the class would end, and then we'd go out and find a park and train till 12 midnight, 1 o'clock, and just kept training until the cops came. And that kind of ended it. But when we're going through this, you know, and really forming that mastermind, because out of the 9 guys, 6 of them reached a master level, which is just, you know, to have one of them out of that 9 would be really good.
Right.
But to have that many, and the ones that didn't make it, I think they were there to teach us some things and help us to get through some things. They just weren't on for the whole tour. And, but it was just really amazing. And I'm still very close to all of them today. And it's just incredible. I mean, they're still all my closest friends, friends of over 30 years.
So together you can be greater than you would be individually.
Well, we help each other through, because your strength is their weakness and vice versa, and everybody's kind of pulled together. And I think there's a transfer. Like when everybody's focused in on the same thing, it's almost like it creates an additional mind on top of that mind. And so if we got those 9 guys and then they build an additional mind, that one's going to be pretty strong.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why you and I joined this global organization that I talked about in the beginning where we met, because you're around thousands of people from all over the world who are like-minded, whose goal is to learn more about themselves and also to help others. And when you get that many people in a room listening to a motivational speaker or learning more about themselves, it's very powerful. I remember, leaving those events and just being on a different level vibrationally. That just carried through into my life, and amazing things would happen.
Yeah, it's been a great ride there, and just really being able to meet so many different people from so many different countries. I mean, it's not even just not local. I mean, they're from Europe or they're from Australia or and getting to have friends that are all over the world. And I think that really kind of expands you.
Absolutely, yes. And the travel to get to these events, which was other parts of this country, I love travel, always have, because it gets me out of my normal routine. It gets me out of my comfort zone. Sometimes I travel in places where I don't know the language. It challenges you.
Yes.
It's like the martial arts. It might not be physically, it could be physically, but a lot of times it's not the physical, it's more the emotional, mental challenge. And I learn so much about myself when I do that.
Yeah, well, it stretches you.
Absolutely. You're an author, and you have how many books?
2.
Common Denominator in your life. You are the common denominator.
Right, you are the common denominator in your life, and the common denominator. They're kind of a series.
Can you talk more about those books?
Well, what I do is in each book, and I'm working on a third one to go with those 2, but what it really does is it brings out 10 points in each book. And, on the first one, if you just look at you are the common denominator in your life, in other words, you affect every area of your life. So if you improve yourself, you've now improved every area of your life because you bring you to each, aspect of that. And so if you're able to fix anything, it's immediately going to show results in other areas. And so you just keep working on yourself, and I go through 10 points of things to look at in each of them and just really examine and consider, am I doing this? Would this be helpful to me if I was a little more focused? And, and I think it's a simple point. Someone said it to me after they read it. They go, common sense, it's kind of common sense, but common sense isn't that common.
Right. Sometimes if you want to, we've heard this, sometimes if you want to hide something, you hide it in plain view.
Yes.
Right?
And I wrote the books in a way where someone that's extremely, uninformed on a lot of these areas in the book would get tremendous value from it. But it would also, somebody that's really into developing themselves and very knowledgeable in the subjects discussed, they would still get nuggets of gold out of it.
Let's talk about the 10 points. What are they? So, first, I have is watch your words, no gossip.
Right.
We'll talk more about communication.
Yeah, and I think just aiming high is really important because if you aim far enough, you're going to get to cool places even if you don't get to that spot. It's going to bring you somewhere. And I think that surrounding yourself with the right people is tremendous. I mean, I've always done that. I will extract people from my life if I don't feel that they're positively affecting me. I don't even care if I really like them. They're still not going to be around me.
Right.
I just keep a real tight circle, and I only want people that are positive, that are moving forward, don't gossip, aren't negative, not looking for the dirt, they're looking for the gold. If they're not one of those people, I don't talk to them.
Living outside the box is another. What's that?
Well, because I think people are so constrained by society. They live to please society instead of live to please themselves. And, they limit themselves so greatly by just not willing to go outside of the box. But that's where all the cool stuff happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not comfortable there.
No,
right?
It's not, but it's where all the growth is.
Absolutely. Working with the universe, not against it.
Well, we all know of the law of attraction. And so if you want to go up against it, it's probably not going to work out for you. So it's just, there's a lot of different universal laws that, law of increased return, where you have to give first and then you receive. Laws of gratitude. There's a lot of universal laws that are out there that are they just are. So you can, ignore them or not know them or not participate. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You're still subject.
I'm going to save the law of attraction discussion after our next commercial break. What about and also the power of thoughts? I'm going to talk about those two things. Personal responsibility, the sheep versus the leader. Right.
That's huge because, if you don't take responsibility for yourself, you have no control. I think everything is my fault only because now I have power over it and I can control it. If I blame someone else, I'm saying that they have power over me.
We've talked about this persistence and overcoming challenges. Even though we have challenges come up, just stay the course. Don't let it set you back.
Yeah, that's how I've gotten to where I am today. When I started in martial arts, I wasn't even athletic. You know what I'm saying? So I had to develop and gain that coordination and gain that development, but it didn't come easy. I had to really work hard to get it.
Invest in yourself.
Well, that's huge, because, I've done that my entire life. And every chance I had, whether it's investing in a training program, investing in my martial art classes, investing in, our success club that we belong to. You got to invest in things, and it costs money, but, that just shows you're serious.
Absolutely.
You're not willing to spend a few dollars on you. What are you willing to spend it on?
Yeah, it shows your commitment level. If you're investing monetarily, but also your time and effort is another indication of your commitment. When we come back from our next commercial break, we're going to get into the law of attraction and thoughts, and I'm looking forward to that discussion. Thanks, John.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome back to Cardinal Points. This is your host, Ed Cardinal, and I have John, I'm going to get it right this time, Calabrese.
Yes.
All right. I knew I could do it. We had touched on a couple of concepts I want to get into right now, and one is thoughts. And I have a quote from Henry Ford that we can segue into our discussion. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. It's the thinking that matters.
Yes, it does.
In what way do our thoughts matter?
Well, when you say thoughts are things, they actually have mass. So they're actually something that's being projected out and has an effect. So, if whatever that thought is where it's going to lead you. But, there's one other thing with thoughts is they turn into actions. And that's really the key thing.
Yes.
You think something, you're more likely to do it. If you don't think it, you're not. If you think it often, you're extremely likely to do it. If you think about it once in a while, it's a possibility.
Right. So that would be why it's important to try to feel good all of the time. It's those feelings of you touched on this a little bit, gratitude and appreciation. If we come from that place as often as we can, those are thoughts of and feelings of high vibration.
Right.
We send that out to the universe. We send it out into the ethers, and we're going to get more things to be grateful for and appreciative of.
Yes. It's like, I am so appreciative of my opportunity to teach and to be able to be in a situation every day where I'm affecting people's lives mentally, physically, emotionally, just where they're going, their outcomes. And having that chance is just so powerful. And I acknowledge that every day.
So is that what I just explained and described, is that the law of attraction?
As far as I think when you think something and that causes something to happen, but I think there's action involved,
yes.
Because a lot of times people think that, well, law of attraction, if I really just want this, then I'm going to have $1 million just kind of show up on my table.
Right.
and it doesn't work that way, it just opens doors. And it's your choice to whether you walk through that door or whether you don't. And I really, the one thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is just the timing. It's kind of like you have certain things that maybe you put off and you're going to do them tomorrow, and you really were, and you do, but that day before, though, you see how that would have been if that was done, something else could have been very easily accomplished with that, but it required that to be done in order for that. And so that's something I've just really been paying attention to lately, how just the timing of everything, and how if you don't take immediate action on things and get them done, they limit your ability to have more opportunities result from them.
That brings up a great point, and I heard an example of this actually this morning with a client of mine who's a multi-billionaire. And he had a company who he brought in his friends to help him out with the company. They saw the vision, and some of the friends didn't get involved in the company but invested in the company. And then there was those who didn't do anything. And 10 years after he had the company, he sold it for billions of dollars. And everyone really made out very well who got involved. And then there were the ones who didn't take the action that you're talking about. And they're saying to themselves, oh, I wish I did what those others did and have cashed in on making a huge amount of money. So that is so important, that concept. The law of attraction was popularized by the book The Secret, but I believe it missed that part of the equation, which was that you need to take action. You can have your dream boards and your dream books and your affirmations, and that's all well and good. But if you don't take action when something presents itself in your life and you feel, you really check into yourself and make sure that it's in alignment with what it is that you want to accomplish in your life, it's important then to take action.
Most definitely.
And that's something I'm working on in my own life. And when I do that, I can't believe the amazing things that are happening in my life because of it. I have to, the important thing is I have to go in and check in with my intuition, check in with my heart to see if it's the right thing, because it'll tell me. My intuition will tell me. And so, so when I'm practicing that and I'm doing it more, and it's amazing what happens.
Yeah, because you know what's right for you.
It's a feeling.
Oh, most definitely.
It's a good feeling.
Right.
How about attitude? That's also important.
Well, yes, attitude's huge because it's what drives you. And it's kind of what points you to where you're going and kind of gives you the fuel to get it done. Because if you're kind of having a lackadaisical attitude, you're not going anywhere. When your passion is on fire and that's your attitude, that's huge. Because I think feeling good isn't always necessarily meaning that you're just in ecstasy and you're just feeling, you know what I mean?
Right.
You might be really working hard and sweating and really going through some things, but you're just loving where you're going, and you know where you're going, and these are just you're paying your dues.
Right.
You're doing what's required, and I think it's something like this. If you don't, anyone can accomplish anything, providing they're willing to do what's required. Right. And everyone thinks I can do anything, but they always forget this whole "but you got to do what's required" part in order to accomplish it. And I think that's something that gets missed very often because they're wondering, oh, it's not fair. How come he has that and I don't? Or how come, when they're in their little blame game. But it's because they took action. They went and got the education for something. They went and paid their dues. They weren't out partying all night. They were working hard. They were studying. They were doing what was required.
And that's a prime example of the action piece. It's doing the work that's required to get to the goal, to get to the dream, to achieve the dream, to achieve what you want in life. And, I used myself an example of how I'm getting better at checking in with myself when opportunities come and then taking action and amazing things happening. But I have been doing a lot of work to prepare me to get to that point. Personal development, knowing myself, clearing the blockages of energy, clearing the mental patterns that have been holding me back. And it hasn't been easy. But now I'm starting to reap the benefits of all of that hard work.
Right.
And that's a great place to be at.
Yeah, most definitely.
I want to read this quote. This is from your website about attitude. And you said, "True motivation does not come from being pumped up only to deflate a short time later. It comes from developing an attitude that emanates from your core character." That's a great quote.
Yes, thank you.
So it's not something that's flash in the pan. It's something that you have to continue with through your daily life every day.
Yes, it's staying power is following through. That's character. And I think people, they don't finish. That's really what it comes down to, because so many people start things and they're on the right track, they just don't finish.
Because it gets too difficult?
They lack discipline.
How do you feel about starting something and then at some point you think it's the right thing, but then it doesn't feel like the right thing? Have you had opportunities like that happen in your life where you had to reassess something that you got involved in and you found that it wasn't for you, but you learned a lot of things along the way?
Yeah, I've done some little business projects, along the way, and I gained some things. Mainly what I enjoyed was just meeting new people. I might not want to stay and doing what they're doing, but it doesn't mean that I don't have them, as a contact and as someone that I can go to on different things that we have in common. And so there's always something to be benefited from everything you do.
Right.
It's just a matter of finding it and sorting through and defining what you wanted and what you didn't want, and then just make choices from there.
Right. So sometimes it helps you define what you want, because then you realize what you don't want.
Yeah.
I mean, this, John, the most successful people are the ones who have failed the most. And I don't think we should call it failure. They're learning opportunities. And so the more we have these learning opportunities, the more successful we're going to be.
Yeah, I always call it, they have more at-bats.
Right.
The more at-bats you get, the more chance you have of getting a hit. If you only bat once and then stop because you didn't get a hit, then, you're not going anywhere. If you get as many at-bats as you can get and look for more, you're going to finally hit a home run.
Right.
You have no choice.
Right. Yeah, so if you don't go up to the plate, you're not going to have an opportunity to succeed or fail. And, it's just a matter of just getting up there as many times as you can.
Yeah, that's so true.
I know communication is also an important skill that we need to have as people. What are some good communication skills that are important for success?
Well, I think that whatever you're projecting towards others is what you're feeling about yourself. So if you want to change what you're projecting at others, you have to change that within yourself first. If there's somebody that's just so frustrated with life and they're just really messed up, that's what they're going to be projecting towards everyone else, and no one's going to want to talk to them. So their communication is going to be definitely challenged, and their personal relationships are going to be challenged. So, really working on yourself and bringing the best you to your conversation and to your communications with others, I think really just is a game changer. But I think the other thing is just also then being aware enough to pay attention to who you're talking to and, really have that heart-to-heart conversation, really mentally connect to the person that you're talking with, and, have a totally different level of communication with them.
So you're saying that you need to, first of all, you need to be positive in what you say. Watch your words. You talked about this because words have vibration. One of the things that I'm impressed with about you and your communication skills, and this has been since I've known you, one is you give eye contact. You face me when you talk to me. You're not sort of turned away from me. And you ask questions. I think that is so important part of communication skills that people miss. Ask questions and learn about the person that you're talking to.
Yes, well, it's important. It's a two-way thing. Otherwise, you're just talking at them.
Right. And the more you show that genuine interest by giving them the eye contact and by asking the questions, people are going to feel good about themselves in that process.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about ways to increase your energy through, let's say, Tai Chi. We talked a little bit about the meridians. Are there other ways that you increase your energy, your vibration?
Well, I think relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, and just getting, I don't mean just laying on the couch, but I mean just being in a relaxed state.
Mm-hmm.
And just allowing more and not feeling like you have to control everything that's going on around you at that time. You can kind of let go a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think also, you know, what are you eating?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's some things are going to make you feel horrible, and some, you know, will definitely lift you up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, what are you doing? Just, you know, when you're out with your friends and you're just relaxing and feeling good, and you know, that's definitely going to raise your vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely pique that interest. But you know, the more you eliminate the fight in you, where you feel like you have to fight everything, you have to be able to kind of go with some things. I mean, some things you got to stand your ground.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but don't sweat the little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just keep focused on the target. You know what I mean? Where you're going. Focus on your goal. Don't get caught up in the, you know,
the drama.
Yeah, just all the stuff that's going on around, and just stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think that's really, you know, a way to kind of raise your vibration, because it's focused energy.
Right.
It's not just, you know, a casual interest.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just feeding your body, let's say, for instance, food, but it's also what you feed your mind. For instance, maybe not being plugged into TV or the media, which can be very negative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can feel the difference when
Mm-hmm.
you watch it. Like I didn't watch TV for 2 years straight,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt really a lot better. And then I broke down, and I really wanted to watch the football season. But, you know, it was something I did as like an experiment for 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, my wife and I got rid of our TV, I would say maybe 5 years ago. And it's amazing how much time that freed up. Although we do, like you, we love football. My wife's from Brooklyn,
Right.
and she's actually a Jet fan. You're not going to like to hear
I'm
that.
a Bears fan.
Oh, okay.
So.
So you're from Chicago. Mike, our producer, he's probably a Patriots fan. So most people in New England are Patriots
Right.
fans. So she has a little bit of a struggle living here in Rhode Island. That's the only thing we miss, is being able to watch football. So sometimes we'll go to a local pub and watch it there. But
Right.
you know, to be unplugged from all of that negativity from the media has really been helpful for us.
And I think really reading the right books,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is very uplifting. Listening to different audios, attending seminars. I mean, I was telling you earlier how I went and I saw Esther Hicks,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wound up on stage with her, you know, and I was asking her questions and having her answer them, and it was just really a wild experience.
Mm-hmm. John, we need to wrap things up here. Is there contact information, a contact email or website that people can go to if they want to?
Sure, just they can go to bodymindsystems.com.
Mm-hmm.
And or also growthIsADecision.com. That's my books are available there. So,
Okay. And I'll have that posted on my website, cardinalpointstalkradio.com, so people can listen to this show there. It's be archived there, and then they can also get your contact information there.
great.
And I appreciate, John, you being here today. It was a great discussion, and I'm hoping that, and I know our listeners got something out of it, that's for sure. Some golden nuggets, as you say.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
All right, thanks, John. To our listeners, I am grateful you joined us today. May you have peace in your mind, heart, and soul. Until we meet again, live in the moment, my friends.
You've been listening to Cardinal Points with Ed Cardinal. Talk radio with heart and soul. Your compass to achieving your dreams. Join us next week at this time for another conversation that will put you on track to personal wellness and wholeness.